The Order 1886, a great game, victim of the PlayStation tax. Days Gone, another great game, victim of the PlayStation tax. Welcome back to this video where we're discussing the inevitable PlayStation tax. It exists. You might see blurry pictures of it. You might see a finger sticking up through the water pretending to be it, but it exists. And I want to talk about it because it's a real problem around the industry with certain websites and certain reviewers. The expectation of top-tier quality that Sony has created themselves. It's Sony's fault that this PlayStation tax exists. You see, we're used to these great games that release over the years. The expectation is built up that when we hear Sony first-party games being worked on, we follow them for any information that we can get, and we expect these games to be the top tier of the industry. Nothing else will suffice, and when these games release, they are subjected to that PlayStation tax. And this is an example of two games that are victims of that tax, victims of an industry that levies this tax too harshly on Sony and their first-party games, victims of reviewers who have a bias for quality from first-party Sony titles and will settle for nothing less. You see, Days Gone was a great game. It was a new IP. It did things really fresh and fun. Yes, we've seen zombie games before, but look at this horde. Creativity, the power of PlayStation on display here, and yet it reviewed poorly. Why? Because it didn't rise to that level of top-tier AAA quality. It's almost as if Sony first-party games can't just be really good, they have to be really great. And that is unfair. Days Gone is a victim of this PlayStation tax. It's undeniable. It's right here in front of you. It's a proven quality and quantity. That doesn't make any sense. But I'm just putting things together to form sentences to prove to you that the PlayStation tax exists. Look at this game, and yet, when compared to other Sony first-party AAA games, it kind of fell short. The story, maybe some of the gameplay was a bit repetitive, and yet, on any other system, I say on any other system, this game would review much better. It's because of that PlayStation tax created by Sony themselves by releasing such quality titles over the years, the expectation given to us, whether or not it's justified or not. We look at these games from Sony First Party and we expect cream of the crop. Nothing else will do. Victim, I say, of the PlayStation tax. Another game to prove this point, to prove that the PlayStation tax exists. The websites, the reviewers, their bias. To prove their bias is The Order 1886. This was a fantastic looking game, a brand new IP, a spin on King Arthur, Camelot, that world, that story. It was so unique, so refreshing, presented in a way that was very cinematic. And yet, do you remember black bars at the top of the screen? Do you remember all the hate this game got for being cinematic? Another example of the PlayStation tax. People expecting top-tier quality. The industry, reviewers, websites, all piled on. An example of the living, breathing PlayStation tax. You know, if this game released on any other system at any other time, it would be heralded as an amazing example of Sony cinematic storytelling, graphics that blew away anything that was on the market at that time. And yet, because of that expectation of top-tier, cream-of-the-crop quality, because of that PlayStation tax created by Sony themselves by releasing such stellar titles over the years, this title was another one that was a victim of that PlayStation tax. And I, for one, am tired of people pretending that it doesn't exist. So when you call up that shrink in Beverly Hills, you know the one, Dr. Everything Will Feel All Right, you can ask him about that PlayStation tax. You can ask them about Sony creating it themselves by releasing the best-in-class, industry-defining first-party content, and the expectation being there from everyone around the industry. It exists, and I'm tired of it. It needs to stop. Great games like The Order 1886 and Days Gone would be stellar games on any other platform, and yet they reviewed kind of poorly. They were received kind of poorly because of that PlayStation tax. It needs to stop. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.